a draw? That's weird. All right, so the recording just started.
Welcome, everybody, to the World Magic Cup qualifiers. This is the semifinals. On the left, we have Nelson. On the right, we have Adrian Sullivan. In the booth right now is myself, Ray Punzlan, along with Rashad Miller.
Hi.
And we have Adrian Sullivan playing Esper Control right there. He was a number 1 seed, so he had the option to choose a player or draw. Of course, he chooses to play. Brandon just starts off with his Sacred Foundry.
It's weird. I think the cards are upside down on the right side. Do you think we can fix the camera?
It's just a style of play. If you haven't watched Adrian Sullivan play, it's just the way he chooses to play. Now, Brandon had, I believe he had I guess he didn't have a Stomping Grounds in his hand. That's why he wasn't able to lead off with his Avacyn Pilgrim.
Yeah, he didn't actually have a way to bring his, to have green mana on turn 1. But it's still a keepable hand, even with the turn 2 Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Adrian Sullivan played some Lingering Souls with some fashionable tokens right there.
Dude, I got Spirit.
And like you talked about earlier, there's the Thundermaw Hellkite that will eat up those Lingering Souls.
Just gobbles them all up as it attacks through any other flyers that were left in his wake.
So Brandon, he has a couple options of Boros Reckoner.
Looks like he's just going to go with the Reckoner and...
Or I believe he had a Planeswalker too, but he'll just pass it to the Reckoner.
Playing Domri,
it doesn't really do much.
Yeah, Domri doesn't threaten the board. Domri you want to play Domri after you've deployed most of your threats and you just want to, you want to draw into more threats. There's also the ability that it has to your creature fights your opponent's creatures, but you want to have some creatures out to make that relevant. You want to establish your board, actually put pressure on your opponent, and then use the Domri as a tempo play, quote unquote, where you can effectively neutralize his or her attempts to stabilize the board with, kill your creature, attack you with my established board already.
So Adrian's going to flash back his Lingering Souls. His hand right now is 3 Sorins, 1 Lingering Souls, and 1 Terminus, and 2. I believe there's another 2 copies of something else. So
now, I'm sure
it's not looking great.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Adrian planned to win this race with Sorin emblems and his Lingering Souls tokens, but they're all going to go away, and Adrian knows it. Yep, they're all gone.
Here goes Adrian's tokens. And one of the things that you mentioned before the match, how big the Thundermaw Hellkite will be against Adrian's plans with Lingering Souls, not to just end the game, but really to prolong the game and have him play his bigger spells to finish him off.
Yeah, Lingering Souls tokens, they attack, they fly. With Sorin Emblem, they become a threat, but most of the time, like 8 times out of 10, they're there to preserve your life total by blocking.
All right, Lingering Souls again.
Was there a Restoration Angel over on Brandon Nelson's side?
I did see the Restoration Angel in his hand.
He did? He does have one?
I didn't.
Okay. But he does have a Domri.
He has Celestia Charm, Domri, Flinthoof Boar, and Clifftop Retreat along with a Gavany Township. Adrian's hands is Terminus, 3 Sorins, and 2 Sphinx Revelations.
And he doesn't have a 4th land.
Yeah, it does not match his 3 lands in play. So
now Celestia Charm also, you can make a 2/2 knight. It can exile the creature with power 5 or greater. It can also give a creature +2/+2 and trample.
All right.
So now Domri's the Domri Boros Reckoner 1/2 punch is gonna get rid of both of those tokens and another attack for 8. It's gonna bring Adrian
9 damage with Avacyn Pilgrim.
Oh, for 9, it's gonna bring him down to 3.
Adrian, let's see, no land still for Adrian. Flashback Lingering Souls. I guess Adrian's just hoping that he'll pull a Terminus and then start drawing a couple lands after that.
Well, Adrian doesn't have a lot of choice here. He can't play any of the spells in his hand. He just drew his 4th land, so he's going to flashback Lingering Souls and hope for the best. But it's not going to do it because there's a Celestia Charm which gives trample. And
Flinthoof Boar in his hand. There's numerous things.
Yeah, Brandon could just flash the Celestia Charm and show him that it's over. Hey, we match.
Matching tokens.
You know what? I can't find that hat. And I don't remember eating. I don't remember eating the whole thing. I thought I saved some for later.
Brandon tapping 2. Looks like it'll be Flinderfore, and
Brandon has so many ways he can win this game.
and it's over. That was a quick match. Adrian's sat on 3 lands. His Lingering Souls, even if they bottom tie him, his deck was just not helping him out there. And he will go ahead and take game 1.
Yeah, you know what? Because Adrian came in, he told me his game plan, and I looked at both these decks, and Thunderbolt Hellkite just says neener to your game plan. So Adrian needs a plan B, and I don't know how many times he played against his deck or even tested against his deck, or how much he expected to play against his deck.
So, So what do you think Adrian would be bringing in?
Well, I see these 4 appetites for brains, which against most aggressive decks aren't very good, but this can kind of cut off the big bomb he plays at the pass, where you spend a black mana on turn 3 or turn 4, just so that before he Brandon's able to play a Thunderbolt Hellkite, you go in his hand and just take it, and then he can still peel one off the top of his deck, but there's not a lot you could do about that.
And then we're looking at Brandon Cyber. He has 2 Advent of the Worms, just great against the control decks in general. Along with, he has 2 Assembled Legions. That could be something that a good way to battle against Adrian if he's fearing that Adrian has Terminus and Supreme Verdict, which I don't know if Brandon. I don't think they saw each other's deck list, so he doesn't really know the composition of Adrian's deck.
The judges definitely did not pass out deck lists to these players. But, the way that first game went, he probably doesn't think he needs a Assembled Legion. But obviously, Adrian only had 3 land in play and, had a handful of Sorens that he wouldn't be able to cast or, didn't really do anything. Those Sorens actually don't seem very good in this matchup. They might be coming out. That's probably the card that comes out.
So Brandon's looking at his board right now. It's a couple face-down cards, so it's the Assembled Legion at least, along with 1 other face-down card.
A lot of thought. Looks like Restoration Angel. Was that a Restoration Angel I saw?
No, that was Oblivion Ring.
No, Oblivion Ring. This seems like a situation where if you're Adrian Sullivan, you look at your deck and you go through and you find all the cards that just aren't making a cut, and you bring in some of these cards that are like you bring in some of these cards that are role players that could kind of do a lot of things or are very versatile, like the Tension Sphere, things like that.
Yeah, Brandon looked like he brought in 1 Advent Worm, 1 Oblivion Ring, 2 Assembled Legions. I believe there's 1 other card he brought in.
Let's see if I can guess what it is.
Oh, wait, Bonfire was also part of the cards that he would bring in.
Well, he brought in Bonfire in the last matchup. Maybe he was so impressed at how it did exactly the amount of damage his opponent was at that it's worth another go. It could also be that he wishes that Bonfire was in the main deck anyway. Yeah. So it turns out that it could be better than some other card that he's playing. Maybe he likes it over one of his Mizium Mortars. Kind of feels the same role. Although Mizium Mortars has a little bit more flexibility on being able to kill a creature and being able to overload it whatever you want. And Bonfire is kind of when you get it and it's a miracle, you have to go with it. You just gotta roll with it.
Adrian, he's holding what? A Rune Chanter's Pike, 4 Azorius Charms. Trying to figure out what he's trying to do here. Brandon's off to go. We know exactly what he did there. Think he's satisfied with what he removed? I think Adrian's finally happy with his sideboarding changes. Nope, I can't decide.
Maybe he had didn't have a 15 card sideboard. What do you think about the sideboard rule change?
That's pretty. There's times where I wish I could have done that before. Plenty of times where I'm like, can I just play 2 extra?
Yeah, you just want to, you just want to jam one card in, but you don't really want to take something out. Most of the time, most of the time you want
stay 60.
You want to stay at 60.
There's definitely been those times where I'm like, if I could just have 61, it'd been a lot easier for me.
And it does suck when you are that person who doesn't take enough time to figure out that you boarded in and out the same amount of cards and make sure you still have a 15 card sideboard, and you lose the game because of that. Not because your deck is like 59 cards, but because
it's 61 or 62.
Yeah, and another thing to think about: have you ever played a 61 card deck?
Oh no! I don't think I've actually.
I've played it maybe once or twice, and games 2 and 3. There's a card that you really wanted to have in your main deck that just isn't. You just don't need it for the matchup, and then you can just go down to 60. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like that idea. Now, Adrian leads up with his Hallowed Fountain. Brandon's hand looks nice. He's going to start off with the Stomping Ground and the Avacyn Pilgrim. Setting up a nice turn 2 Boros Reckoner.
There's a Blind Obedience. That's actually a pretty... I was looking at that while I was going through Adrian Sullivan's deck list, and I meant to mention something about that, but I just kept getting sidetracked by my own...
That's a one-of copy, and it's a good way to battle Hasty.
It is a one-of copy. It helps against the haste issue.
Yeah.
And, it has extort. Free life every now and then. Now, this is actually pretty good for Adrian because instead of putting a threat on the board, there's a Domri raid for Brandon Nelson. And even though it did just reveal a Flint Hoof Boar, normally that would, make up for the fact that Brandon basically just didn't do anything on his second turn. There's a Blind Obedience in play, which is going to, make it not be able to have haste.
And Adrian goes on and Miracle's Terminus, uses the Extort, gets rid of the Avacyn Pilgrim. He may have thought that Brandon was light on land the way those turns played out, but we know Brandon just wanted to play his Planeswalker versus adding to the board there. Goes up with a Cliff-Top Retreat. Looks like we're going to lay down Boros Reckoner. Comes into play a tap due to a Blind Obedience. All right.
4th land. First time Adrian Sullivan has done that in this semifinals.
He is
actually that's
Black
not true.
Source.
Doesn't have a black source, but can't have it all.
4th land in the 4th turn, though. And here comes Boros Reckoner. Just comes in for 3.
It's just a 3/3, right now. There's no other dudes in play. It's just a 3/3, a 3/3 for 3.
All right.
I've played Call of the Herd before.
Yeah, he normally came back with his friend, though. Here's a Flint Hoof board. Comes to play tapped. All right.
Now, I'm not as expert with the rules as I used to be. As a Snapcaster Mage hits the battlefield. But I wonder whose responsibility it is to make sure that all these creatures enter the battlefield tapped.
There. Adrian preventing Domri from ultimately. Adrian does have Obstinate in hand, but no black sources.
Yeah, no black sources. So he can't even activate the Nephalia Drown Yard either. He's leaving 5 mana open. Not a lot of cards he could be bluffing. Maybe a second Snapcaster Mage, but...
Blind Obedience pretty nice against Assembled Legions, too.
It's nice. It slows things down. I can see why there's only 1 copy in Adrian Sullivan's deck.
Yeah.
When you draw it, it should buy you enough time to actually get to, like, your good spells.
Yeah.
But... just trying to hide behind it is never going to be good enough because eventually You're just changing haste creatures into regular creatures, and regular creatures are still pretty good. I mean, there are a ton of creatures that everyone's playing that don't have haste. Boros Reckoner doesn't have haste, and the fact that the creatures come into play and can't block that turn, that's not relevant in this matchup.
Brandon's just gonna hold back his Boros Reckoner. He's not gonna let this Snapcaster Mage.
Is that 3 hits in a row, or did we whip with Domri?
He missed once when it revealed the Symbol Legion.
Okay. Well, that just means that there's a Symbol Legion coming now. Now, these creatures are going to come into the battlefield tapped, but eventually, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, if
it's a never-ending stream of creatures.
Yeah, okay, upkeep 5 tapped dudes.
Next turn's going to be nice.
Yeah, they're getting you next turn.
And if you Terminus, next turn I'm going to get 6.
Ooh, Sphinx's Revelation. It's going to be for 2. This is at the end of the turn, and obviously that's not really what Brandon wants to see. It's only for 2, so it's not as backbreaking as probably if the game goes long enough. The next Sphinx's Revelation will be, but hopefully it can get Adrian into a Black Mana Source so that he can actually start playing with the other half of the cards in his hand.
Now, Adrian, it does look like he has another Sphinx. He can use a late game. Let's see what else he picked up there. The Obsidian's still sitting there without being able to, without black mana, just going to be stuck in his hand for a while.
And Obsidian is double black.
All right.
It's white, white, black, black, and a colorless.
So we're far, far away. Now, Adrian, I believe off that Sphinx Revelation drew a Terminus, so he might be deciding if he wants to play out the Terminus. Does he even have the land, though? Oh, he does.
He does have a land. It looks like a Thespian. Is that a Thespian stage?
Vault of the Archangel.
Oh, Vault of the Archangel. Another land that doesn't do anything. But it does increase the Sphinx's Revelations for 1 more card and 1 more life.
Here's a token, putting a counter on. All right, so for the turn, looks like Brandon just drew a Rootbound Crag. So his hand right now, Boros Reckoner, Thundermaw Hellkite, and 3 lands.
Thundermaw Hellkite right now, not the offensive powerhouse that it can be. It's just not backbreaking where it comes into play and it hits you for 5.
Yeah.
Now I think Brandon is thinking about waiting until you see some Lingering Souls tokens, but I don't know that Lingering Souls is still in Adrian's deck.
Yeah, it would have been a decent choice to remove just because Adrian saw how ineffective they were, but you don't know. He probably kept a couple copies in.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance that he did. There's also the possibility that since it's going to enter the battlefield tapped, there's no reason to do it pre-combat. So there's going to be just to attack with the 3/3 Flint Hoof Boar. And Adrian doesn't want to have to change his life total, so he's just going to Sphinx his Revelations for 3 right now.
And then you'll take 3, go back to where he started. So let's see here. Adrian could be thinking maybe I want to chump block here because I'm going to Terminus next turn.
That Snapcaster Mage isn't going to have a better target to block. There aren't bigger creatures that are going to be on the board that Snapcaster Mage, that doesn't have flying. Everything else is going to be 3/3. That's the best it's going to get. The other option is I can trade with a token, says Adrian Sullivan, but I don't know how relevant that's going to be. That 1 token, which will probably add up over the course of the game to maybe 3 damage if Adrian just doesn't do anything and he gets attacked 2 more times. So it's either chump block or you just save your guy. It looks like he's saving his guy.
So the Thundermaw Hellkite. So Brandon considered just playing 1 Thundermaw Hellkite here. So his hand right now, he has 2 Thundermaw Hellkites. The Boros Reckoner in 3 lands.
I mean, Brandon has a very good position right now, and it looks like he didn't put a counter on his Assembled Legions. So that's going to...
This has only been the 1 turn.
No, it had 1 token And that Rashad token is a Symbol of Allegiance token.
Isn't that just a tap? I think that's just a tap token.
What kind of token? It's
Symbol Legion tap that came into play tap.
right. So this turn, he should have put a counter on it and put 2 tokens into play. He skipped both of those triggers. He didn't put a counter on his Symbol of Allegiance, and he didn't put
Was that for sure?
a guy into play. Yeah, that guy's been there forever.
I wasn't sure if the.
But hasn't that guy been there forever?
I thought it was only one turn with a Symbol Legion, unless I just missed it too.
I thought. Am I being corrected in the chat? How long has that Symbol of Allegiance?
Symbol Legion's only been there for one trigger.
It's only been this one turn?
You had me sold almost. I'm like, where was I?
I thought that token was there for a while. Was it? Is it?
No, he put it on that turn. The turn might have seemed long to you.
Just a really long turn? Is that what it was?
Felt long. Sphinx Revelation, the attacking, it gets crazy out there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened. Well, you better not forget it next time. Because I'm going to be on it.
Maybe you're predicting the future.
Maybe it's like deja vu. I had a dream. I dreamed this game already.
All right, so Adrian thinking carefully here. I'm fairly positive he has that Terminus. Seek Sense played a Terminus here. Clear up the board a little bit. Now you still have to deal with the Symbol Legions, but
I mean, it's always tough for the control deck in these matchups because you have to calculate how much damage you think you can take and how much how much damage you can take before you have to pull the trigger on some of these cards. Now, if he had 3 Terminus in his hand, then he could just throw them away at no matter how many creatures are on the board. But if he only has his one, he has to make it count. He has to get rid of the most amount of creatures and soldier tokens with this that he can with this Terminus to be able to stay alive.
Adrian was moving around his Snapcaster Mage, bulk up the Archangel. Snapcaster Mage could do a little trading if it likes.
Can't trade with anything very menacing. You could trade with a 1/1 token or a Flint Hoof Boar.
Boros Reckoner stays on defense again. Ooh, Cyclonic Rift.
Didn't think about that one. I forgot that he has a Cyclonic Rift in his deck. Does he have a Terminus in his hand also?
I believe I saw a Terminus. So all the permanents going up. Gets rid of the Domri. Gets rid of the Symbol Legions. All right, so that's a nice one-up right there. One-up's doing some work this game.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you really want a Cyclonic Rift?
So Symbol Legions and then Flint Hoof Boar if you'd like.
Probably the Flint Hoof Boar.
There you go.
I think I did see a Terminus in Adrian's hand.
Also has a Sorin, so
the Sorens came in, which the Sorens stayed in, which I think is fine. I'm pretty sure the Lingering Souls are out. Adrian just drew a Warped Physique.
Which is another one of?
Yeah, which is part of his collection of one-ofs from this deck list, which include Dissipate, Syncopate, the Warped Physique, which we just mentioned, Ultimate Price, Far Away, Evolving One. Oh, no, that's a land. We don't need to mention that one. And Cyclonic Rift. And Blind Obedience, which is in play. We're not going to mention the one-ofs in this sideboard because
there's even more. So what is Adrian considering here?
Looks like he's considering getting in there.
All right. Drops Brandon down to 14.
Is this Terminus about to happen? Is this the pre-attack Terminus attack?
Nope. 4-mana Sorin.
Sorin, make a dude.
And
extort. We are going beatdown. And by beatdown, I mean the grindiest of the beatdowns.
Just like the Orzhov decks.
Uh-oh. We switched it up.
Switch it up. I guess
I guess you're a vampire.
I like being a vampire. Hollow Fountain added to the board there. That Cyclonic Rift was huge this game. Really really helps Adrian stabilize his side, not have to worry about all these creatures. I mean,
Yeah.
Terminus could have done the same, but then he still had the Domri and the Assemble Legions.
Yeah.
So being able to pop everything back to the hand was just
And they all come back, and even though they have haste, that blind obedience just makes them come back so slowly.
Brandon's at 13 right now. Brandon with plenty of options now with everything coming back to his hand. So in the tank, he has 7 mana available to him. I don't think he laid a land yet this turn. So starts off with a Domri. So he might be fighting the Vampire token and then trying to get rid of Sorin. Or at least slow Sorin down. That could be one of his options. Or bring his Boros Reckoner to play too. Voice of Resurgence is going to come into play. Comes into play tapped. Then 3 more mana left. Boros Reckoner comes into play tapped as well. Brandon rebuilding his board here now. I feel like Brandon will do some fighting with the token and try to get rid of Sorin. In combination with Boros Reckoner, flint off more attacks.
Well, I mean, he can get tricky with his Boros Reckoner and some of his own creatures that are big enough to actually deal enough damage to, do bigger packets of damage. But looks like Snapcaster Mage does a fine job as well. So that 2 damage is going to go to a token instead. Sorin's going to stick around long enough. Well, it's going to get attacked for 3. Sorin's going to still be around. But there was an opportunity to deal, the direct damage and still get the attack in. Probably would have been a worse result. So, congratulations, Brandon, on playing that one better than me.
See, Adrian doesn't even peep at what his draw is, looks like.
Still has a warped physique, which could be really tricky if Brandon decides to fight with one of his creatures against 2 open mana, because you just warp physique and then it's either a double trade or
really bad news.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Are we saying Adrian's still short of the obsidian?
Can he use a second black source? I don't know how. Well, we can look at how many.
Right here.
I'm gonna check his land to see how many black sources, and there is
Terminus
plus extort.
That blind obedience has been gaining Adrian tons of life.
There's only 9. There's 10 black sources in Adrian Sullivan's deck, and to ask for 2 of those over the course of a normal game is actually kind of stretching it, because you really want 12 to 14 of a color in order to ensure that you get 2.
There's some Assemble Legion. Takes it up, adds a couple more to the board. All tap the end because of blind obedience. We trust the Gavany Township, so those Assemble Legion tokens are getting scarier now.
Well, they're not the scariest just yet. So Domri gets a Restoration Angel for Brandon, which is kind of weird, because any of the creatures that he decides to target with the Restoration Angel is got to enter the battlefield tapped again. Kind of weird.
A little strange there. He could just still re-trigger his Thunderbolt Hellkite if he needs it, but we haven't seen any lingering souls this game by Adrian.
Yeah, I don't think there are any lingering souls left in that deck. They were so ineffective game one, and Adrian's smart guy. He knows not to keep in cards that don't do anything.
So setting aside 5 and 3. See, it looks like Brandon wants to add the Smiter to the board.
Yep, there's a Smiter. And Adrian Sullivan dangerously bumping my equipment with vigorous high fives.
Let's see what the other follow-up is.
So there's the Evolving Wilds. I thought that was not actually Evolving Wilds. He has 2 in his deck. Only has 1 in his deck. I counted that as a black source, and it's definitely going to get the 1 swamp that is in his deck. So now Opsadad, as I like to call him.
He'd finally be able to come into play here.
Get some triggers. It's like we have the actual like Azorius deck going on one side of the table. With a hint of blue, just for the blowout Cyclonic Riff.
God, that Cyclonic Riff was still great. Orzhov.
Yeah, Orzhov. Did I say Azorius?
Yes.
Orzhov. Orzhov. You have to like Orzhov.
All right, so Emblem made, it looks like.
He's got the happy birthday token too. This. How did he get all these tokens? How did
Adrian has them all?
How did he
I
get
have
them?
a birthday token anymore.
I don't think I have it anymore either.
This is gonna kill Domri.
Looks like Domri goes down.
Domri going down, and then Adrian will probably play his Upset right now.
I can't remember what event that's from, but it was like a special holiday / Grand Prix. So that yellow text says what it's from, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Here's Upset. Adrian just adding to his. He's not even under 20 life.
He was at a point, but that point was long ago. Now this blind obedience is Obsidat's the real threat, but blind obedience is threatening to lessen the clock. Right now the clock is 5 Obsidat triggers. All it takes is 1 blind obedience trigger to make it 4.
So end of turn Restoration Angel, it looks like, from Brandon. Won't need to flash anything.
Looks like we have a result. Daniel Sacchetti actually won 2-1 in the battle of the unblockable life-gaining creatures.
Yep, the Bant Auras matchup. Well, Daniel Sacchetti, the one with Ray Revelations in his board, is the one who advanced.
Weird.
Wonder if that played a big part of it.
Maybe a small part, a medium part. All right, back to this game. 3 counters on the Assembled Legions. 3 tokens enter the battlefield tapped with haste.
Oblivion Ring drawn.
Unfortunately, it's unable to target the biggest threat, which is Obsidat.
What is Brandon planning to do here?
All right, the threat here is Obsidat. Right now, he doesn't have any cards that can interact with that Obsidat. So Plan B is to race Obsidat with Adrian Sullivan at 25, steadily gaining 2 to 3 life on each of his turns, thanks to Obsidat triggers and blind obedience.
I think this Oblivion Ring is going to go towards that blind obedience. It's going to make that Assembled Legions a lot scarier now.
That actually does. That makes this race a lot better for Brandon Nelson, because now next turn he's going to have 4 1/1 tokens with haste that enter the battlefield.
And a Gavin
untapped.
Township in play too.
That's 1 Oblivion Ring to turn the whole game around.
And I believe that's only the one of copy that Brandon brought in during sideboarding. He had 2, but I think he only brought in 1.
Well, you know what? it didn't target the most threatening card on the board for Adrian Sullivan, because obviously that is, the thing that's really threatening Brandon's life. But it got rid of the one permanent that can give Brandon a chance to win, which is the blind obedience, being able to actually benefit from haste, because there's a lot of haste going on in Brandon Nelson's deck.
All right.
Brandon actually has the opportunity. Well, I don't know if he's going to have that opportunity since he's in his attack step now, but he could have played the Thundermaw Hellkite and just attacked. But it looks like he'd rather use Gavany Township to pump all of his tokens, his his crap ton of tokens that he has in play.
Yeah, and then next turn now he'll have tons of power. I think it might be close to death for Adrian if he doesn't have any blockers.
Well, he took one. I think he only took 5, so there wasn't an activation of the township. I'm curious as to what the saving of the mana is for. I saw a white card in his hand. Is it a Restoration Angel?
Well, you could maybe he wants to bluff a Restoration Angel or something to Adrian.
This is a perfect bluff, because there's no reason to not activate Gavany Township before damage unless you want to save your mana for something, because there's no actual instance in Brandon Nelson's deck. It's a Dami Rad deck. There's a Dami Ray deck. There's Selesnya Charm and there's Restoration Angel, which has Flash. That's it.
So Adrian's doing the math now. How much damage am I going to take? So we're looking at it. If he looking at it, thinking of him 2 power, then he can activate it again on his turn, make him those 1/1s into 3 powers.
Yeah, I decided not to do the math. It's a lot. It's probably more than 22.
Then the 4 new Assembled Legions are going to be 2 power. It's a lot of damage coming through. Adrian has to just figure out where he stands right now. He's going to come with his Obsidian and the Vampire Token.
It's 29 damage. I said I wasn't going to do the math, and then I did it. It's 29, and that's not counting the Thundermaw Hellkite in Brandon Nelson's hand.
All right, so 2 blocks. Bolt of the Archangel could deal with everything. Gain a bunch of life.
Yeah, Vault of Archangel does help pad Adrian's life total, but it's only going to gain him 6. That puts him at 28, and I already counted up 29. There's 29 damage on the board as we look at it. This isn't counting any of the haste creatures.
But Vault of the Archangel also gives you Death Touch too, right?
Oh, it does give Death Touch.
So that get rid of the.
So that's going to get rid of the Restoration Angel, which is going to take away. No, I didn't even count the Restoration Angel. I'm like when I did. No,
so you didn't really do the math.
I didn't do the math. I actually did the math without adding the Restoration Angel. So the Restoration Angel adds 5 more damage. I did do the math with that token that's going to the graveyard. So, but all it takes is the Thundermaw Hellkite to win the game anyway.
We're seeing here, well, Brandon still has to remember to activate that Gavany Township.
He has to remember to activate Gavany Township. He has to remember to put a bunch of tokens into play and put a counter on the Assembled Legions. I'm pretty confident that those things will happen.
All right, let's see. And Adrian, what does he have in his hand?
Well, he has a land.
Right, tap in 3.
3 mana? What is?
Lingering Soul.
The Lingering Soul stayed in. And he has the Easter egg and the Shamrock token.
It's impressive that he still has all
I don't know why I thought that he didn't have every token. but he does. But you know what card Brandon Nelson hasn't played yet? That I think he knows is in his hand. He played that Thundermaw Hellkite before the
Yeah, he
Cyclonic
accidentally,
Rift.
accidentally showed that Thunderbolt Hawkeye earlier.
So the Thundermaw Hellkite is good. I think he's just explaining to him right now that I have all these goods. I hope you have your one of Dissipate in your hand.
All right, so they're
like-
trying to figure this out.
It's like, can I borrow all your dice to beat you, during my next attack step? Even though we could just not do all of this and I can show you anyway instead. But can you just give me more dice, please? That's what he's saying.
Is that exactly what he said?
Yep. I did the mock quotations thing and everything. I'm Brandon Nielsen and I need more dice. Can I borrow them from you so that I can kill you with your...
Is he? He might be short though.
No, he has a lot of damage there. He's gonna make four 1/1s, and they're gonna be 2/2s, and all those are gonna be 3/3s.
That's 5 mana. 5 lands are gonna be tied up if he wants the Gavity Township, and then he needs 5 more if he wants the Thunderbolt Hellkite.
Okay, so he can't do both. That's true. He can't do Thunderbolt Hellkite and Township.
And I think he just drew a Voice of Resurgence right there. Brandon Nelson has to be mindful of also his life total. He's only at 7.
Okay, this attack would only be for 26 if all of these creatures attack and
a pump.
And the pump. But he can do that. Attack for 26, bring Adrian down to 4, play Boros Reckoner, which stops Obsidat from attacking. Because if Obsidat attacks, then Boros Reckoner jumps in the way and deals 5 damage to Adrian Sullivan, and then he dies.
Well, he's going to start off with Voice of Resurgence.
This makes me think that Brandon Nelson is not attacking this turn.
Well, he could be attacking, and then...
Well, he could just attack with Thundermaw Hellkite this turn and then the next turn. Because he has another one in his hand. And this is a pretty safe attack. The ground is plenty clogged up.
It's like you have 1 card in hand, right? Just 1.
That card probably can't deal 7 damage.
So this is going to be 18 right now coming towards Adrian. 19, 20, 21. If I added that correctly, 8, 5, 21 damage coming through.
Is that right? 5,
So that's
10, 11. Oh, you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
So what?
That's a lot of damage. Got 2 creatures back to block. One of them is a Voice of Resurgence. We don't want that guy to die.
He'll be a good build.
Yeah,
he big.
Yeah, he gets very relevant when he dies with this many creatures on the board. Make sure.
All right, so Adrian will jump up to...
TCG Platinum, your final standing.
Adrian phased out his... Did Adrian phase out his Obsidat last turn? I forget now.
He didn't. So he left it in play. I don't know why. It was definitely a face-up Obsidat that was tapped.
All right, Adrian in the take right now. That could be a big mistake if Brandon could be at 5 instead.
And Adrian would be at 11.
And let's see. I feel like Adrian's life total doesn't matter too much considering the board state.
Considering all these creatures that are...
Brandon at 5 could have been a big deal.
Don't know the 2 cards in Adrian's hand, but I can't imagine, unless it's a Terminus or some other effect that destroys all creatures. a Snapcaster Mage. A Snapcaster Mage would actually be amazing because I think he has enough. Oh, he just gives it up.
Yep, and Adrian scoops it up. Unfortunately,
Brandon Nelson does it. He moves on to the finals. He's going to play against Daniel Sachechi.